Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. Don't forget like, share, and subscribe.
Let's talk about fish. Full of healthy omega-3, protein, and essential nutrients. It can be the secret to a happy heart and a well-oiled body. But before you take a bite, there's something you need to know. Not all fish is equal, and choosing the wrong fish can actually do more harm than good. So today, we'll dive into 7 fish you should never eat, as well as some of the best fish options, plus important tips to follow when it comes to buying fish. We'll also reveal a common fish that lives up to 150 years and is very popular on restaurant menus. But we suggest you stay away from this one, because if a fish is 150 years old, it has been accumulating toxins all that time. And once those toxins get into your blood system, they wreak havoc in the body and brain. But before we dig in, can you do us a favor? Click on the thumbs up and help us spread the word about heart disease prevention. And ring the bell to stay up to date with our latest videos. We want to make sure you get the latest info so you can live a long, healthy life. And stick around to find out how to get 2 heart health-free gifts. We guarantee both you and your heart will love them. Number 7. Tilapia. Tilapia is one of the most popular fish in the United States. However, there's one key reason to think twice about eating tilapia: its omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Omega-6 and omega-3 are essential fatty acids that the body needs. However, too much omega-6 and not enough omega-3 leads to inflammation, high blood pressure, and increased heart disease risk. Unfortunately, tilapia is high in omega-6 and low in omega-3. In fact, tilapia has one of the worst omega-6 to omega-3 ratios of any fish. Even more alarming, imported tilapia often falls short of safety standards. The US FDA flagged a number of exporters for regularly sending tilapia with unacceptable levels of harmful chemicals. Some of these chemicals are used to control parasites in fish farms. However, they can be carcinogenic and have been banned in many countries. Yet, some fish farmers continue to use them and sell under the radar. Similarly, imported tilapia may contain high levels of antibiotics. The overuse of antibiotics can lead to antibiotic resistance, which is a growing problem in human health. So, next time you're considering tilapia for a healthy fish option, think again. Instead, go for one of the healthier options we'll discuss later in this video. Number 6. King mackerel. While other types of mackerel are considered healthy, king mackerel should be avoided. One of the main concerns with king mackerel is high levels of mercury. Mercury is a toxic metal that accumulates, leading to serious health problems such as neurological damage, kidney problems, and developmental delays in children. King mackerel, in particular, is known to have high levels of mercury compared to other fish. King mackerel is a predatory fish. That means it's at the top of the food chain and consumes other fish. Because of this, they accumulate more toxins over time, such as PCBs and other toxins. Even if a chemical has been banned for decades, it can still persist in the environment and accumulate in the fatty tissues of these fish, which is why king mackerel should be avoided. As mentioned, we're only talking about king mackerel here. There are a number of types of mackerel. Other types, such as Atlantic mackerel and Atka mackerel, are lower in mercury and higher in inflammation-fighting omega-3 fats. Atlantic and Atka mackerel are all-round healthy fish. Number 5. Orange roughy. This slimehead can live up to a whopping 150 years. They don't mature until around 30 years old. So if you choose this fish, you'll likely be eating a 30-year-old fish, which has accumulated toxins over those years. This can lead to higher levels of contaminants such as mercury, which, as we discussed, is harmful to humans. While mercury is the most discussed contaminant, orange roughy can have all sorts of other toxins that have landed in the ocean throughout history. For example, a 2004 expedition collected orange roughy ranging from 1 year to 139 years old. When scientists analyzed the fish, they found concentrations of mercury, arsenic, cadmium, and lead. These are known as the Big Four when it comes to heavy metal poisoning. When we eat these toxins, they work their way towards fatty tissue, and that's where they accumulate. They attach to fat and cause inflammation, decreasing cell function, causing fatigue, brain fog, depression, as well as causing inflammation to artery walls, which is a major driver of heart disease. Interestingly, one study found that male orange roughy have higher contamination than females, possibly because females eliminate some of their contaminants when they release eggs. Another concern is that orange roughy is an overfished species, which means that its populations are being depleted as a result of overfishing. This depletion is a major problem for biodiversity loss and the disruption of ocean ecosystems. Okay, we've talked about mercury, so let's quickly run over the other high mercury fish to stay away from. Numbers 4, 3, and 2 are swordfish, shark, and tilefish. These are all known to contain high levels of mercury due to their long lifespan and predatory nature. Before the 1950s, little was known about mercury poisoning, until researchers started investigating high death rates in specific populations. Today, researchers know that mercury in fish is linked to increased cardiovascular disease, immune system dysfunction, and endocrine disruption. It's worth noting that the Mediterranean basin is known to have abnormally high levels of mercury in their fish, compared to fish caught in the Atlantic Ocean. That's because the Mediterranean is believed to contain around 50% of the world's mercury resources. According to the Journal of Environmental Research, the Mediterranean basin has been studied for over 20 years due to this phenomenon, where fish contain higher levels of mercury compared to the same species in the Atlantic Ocean. A similar effect occurs with seabirds, where eggs from the Mediterranean basin contain 3–4 times as much mercury as those in the Atlantic. Ironically, this is exactly where the island of Sardinia is located, one of the world's 5 blue zones, where people live the longest and have lower rates of disease than anywhere else in the world. People eat a moderate amount of fish on the island, but it tends to be smaller fish like sardines, anchovies, and cod, which are younger and in the middle of the food chain, thus have lower levels of mercury and other toxins. As we'll get to shortly, those are among the indicators to look for when choosing fish. Now, before we get to our final fish to avoid, Heart Disease Code would love to give you a free book, The Surprising Truth About Fat and Cholesterol, plus the first episode of The Untold Story of Heart Disease, something that everyone concerned about heart health. Number 1. Eel. Eating eel might seem like a delicacy, especially in sushi, but it's not a great idea. You may have heard that raw eel and eel blood is poisonous to humans. While that's true, it's easily fixed with cooking. However, the major problem with eel is that they absorb so many toxins from their environment. For example, a study published in the scientific journal Chemosphere found that dye from clothing and textile industries makes its way into the tissue of eels, which is then be passed on to humans if they eat the eel. Researchers took eels from 91 locations in Belgian rivers, canals, and lakes, and tissue analysis found that 77% of the sites had contamination from highly toxic clothing dyes. In Taiwan, eel populations have been found to contain alarming levels of cadmium poisoning, a heavy metal from the electroplating industry. This cadmium poisoning is associated with osteomalacia, where bones become soft and weak, as well as renal tubular malfunction, a type of kidney failure. Other studies found flame retardants and plasticizers in eels destined for eating. Finally, eating eel is not sustainable. Many eel species are endangered and their populations have been significantly depleted due to overfishing and habitat destruction. A trend that's accelerating as sushi and Japanese eel dishes become more and more popular around the world. Some eel species, like the European eel, are protected under international conventions. Artificial eel reproduction programs have failed, and as a result eel populations continue to decline. So that's the worst fish that should be avoiding. Now for the good news. There are a number of fish options that are brilliant for health. Let's discuss them now. Healthier fish options. Some of the healthiest fish to put on your plate include salmon, tuna, sardines, anchovies, cod, and trout. These fish are high in omega-3 fatty acids, which reduce inflammation, lower the risk of heart disease, and improve brain health. They are also a good source of protein and other essential nutrients. Most importantly, all except some tuna are low in mercury and other contaminants. Tuna is a good source of potassium, magnesium, and vitamin B12. But older and larger tuna can have high mercury. To minimize your exposure, opt for smaller, younger tuna, such as skipjack. Skipjack is often used in canned tuna, so keep an eye out for that. And finally, we couldn't make a video about fish without discussing wild-caught and farmed fish. Wild-caught versus farmed fish. Wild-caught fish live their natural habitat, while farmed fish are raised in man-made environments such as ponds or cages. It's important to understand that the health profile of each is vastly different. Wild-caught salmon, for example, is higher in omega-3 and lower in omega-6, which is important for preventing inflammation and associated damage. Wild-caught also tends to contain fewer contaminants, pesticides, and antibiotics. As we mentioned, these can cause problems when we eat them, especially the growing problem of antibiotic resistance. So we recommend buying wild-caught whenever possible. You'll know the difference because wild-caught salmon has a deeper red-orange color than farmed. And if you see the whole fish, wild-caught will have a large fan tail from swimming against currents, as opposed to a farmed fish with a small tail from hanging out in a caged pool all its life. And if you're buying white fish fillets, look for firm flesh and a translucent white color. As a simple rule of thumb, go for young fish like the ones we mentioned, as they have less time to build up contaminants. After all, a 5-year-old salmon simply hasn't had time to accumulate toxins like that 100-year-old orange roughy. So there you have it, 7 kinds of fish you should never eat. Number 7. Tilapia. Number 6. King mackerel. Number 5. Orange roughy. Number 4. Swordfish. Number 3. Shark. Number 2. Tilefish. Number 1. Eel. Opt instead for low-contaminant wild-caught salmon, sardines, anchovies, cod, and trout. And take care with tuna, opting for skipjack or limiting your consumption. We hope you found today's video useful. Do you have any questions or tips to share? Leave a comment and share it with others in the heart disease code community. And remember to get your 2 free gifts: The Surprising Truth About Fat and Cholesterol, and the first episode of The Untold Story of Heart Disease. Just click the link in the description below to get them. And remember to like this video and click the subscribe button so that you can stay up to date as we release new videos. Thanks for watching. We hope you have a happy and heart-healthy day.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like.